honor to have you. Good to see you again.
God bless you. Thank you, Marty. I appreciate your time. God bless Texas. Are y'all glad to be here tonight? Yeah. All right, let me tell you what. There's a lot of things that are going on, and I appreciate you guys being here. And a couple of items of housekeeping real quick. You know, the terrible thing is when you introduce people, you always leave somebody out on accident. And, you know, I know we also have the Montgomerys here tonight, and, you know, they'll be the new chair. And I will tell you, just as a matter of housekeeping, I think they might have gone to the bathroom or something, but, you know, being a mediator and arbitrator, you know, and dealing with tough situations, I always have a great time bringing people together. Even if they're mad at me or at odds with you or at odds with somebody else, because that's what it's going to take to beat Joe Biden in November, okay? Comal Blue is excited whenever we're a house divided. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And I was going to state publicly that the nice gentleman mentioned to me that when I hosted the event for Sue Piner, that I lied about some issues related to him, the money he received, and some other things. And so I was gonna let the family know that there were some things that I was told that I received misinformation, and I committed to Mr. Reynolds to meet with him to hear what he was saying to correct the record, and any information that he had that was needed to be corrected, I wouldn't have a problem putting that out there. Now let me tell you what, that's the kind of leadership we need to run the Republican Party of Texas. Because we've got to unify in a way that might be uncomfortable for some people and might not be for others. Because if we're actually doing kingdom building, then you know what, it doesn't matter who gets the credit. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Joshua, Joshua said, "Whose side are you on, mine or my enemies?" What did the angel of the Lord say? Neither. So folks, you better be worried about being on God's side, more important than him being on your side. All right? Now, I'm not going to tell you anything else that they shared with me in private. Again, like I said, I think they went to the bathroom, but I'm sure there's people here that, you know, that supported them in their campaign, voted for him. A lot of y'all here voted for Sue. God bless every one of y'all for being involved in the process. Okay? So be sure that this information, this little infomercial, be sure that it gets back to them, because that's how we're going to move Texas forward. We're not going to move Texas forward in a closet whispering. No, sunshine is the best disinfectant, and that's what we need to do. So I thank you guys for allowing me to do a little bit of housekeeping, but it exemplifies as state party chair and as county chair, you got to be willing for half the people to be mad at you every day of your life, and that half might switch from one day to the next. Because you got to do what's right. You got to make sure you're on God's side. You got to make sure you're kingdom building in a way that is moving the ball forward. Because the left loves it when we're at odds with each other, okay? Now, I deferred my candidate speech to part of this, and my speech to part of this. So, like I said, I went to college on a bull riding scholarship, so y'all get ready. Y'all are going to know what it feels like. In the rodeo world, we say it's time to slide and ride, okay? And that's not just when you're in the back of Mark Reynolds' police car with handcuffs. All right? So, look. Good Lord, I tell you what. Do y'all want to have fun tonight? Yeah. Let me tell you what. I've been having so much fun, it ought to be illegal. I told my good friend Sonia Harris, who loves me and loves my children, but loves my wife more. I told them we're going to have more fun than a tornado in a trailer park. So I will tell you, running for state party chair, one of the things that we've been doing, you know, I've been on all over the state and doing a whole lot of things. Last week I was in El Paso one day, Austin the next, Midland the day before, and you know, being from San Antonio, Sodom and Gomorrah as I like to call it, you know, people north of New Braunfels, they think that San Antonio is still part of the border, and it kind of is. It's the political border, we kind of joke. But I went to El Paso, and we had a great time on the border, visiting some Border Patrol families, also visiting grassroots leaders, and then the next thing that I did was quite fun. And this is, when I talk about we're going to elevate how we're going after the leftists, this is some of the ways we're going to do it. Now you can go ahead and play the tape, make sure the volume's all the way up. Y'all will get a kick out of this. And as your next chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, we've been doing a lot of outreach
here today in El Paso, meeting with law enforcement, meeting with local grassroots leaders. We're even helping to host a property tax protest seminar so people can know how to properly protest their property taxes. And we just happened to stop by Beto O'Rourke's house. We're not going to show you where his home is, but it's right here in this neighborhood, right over my shoulder. And we didn't find any illegal aliens in his front yard. And I'm kind of surprised that somebody that's so pro-illegal alien coming into Texas, I really would have thought that Beto would have had some people at least camped out on this front yard. So again, we're not going to show you the exact house, but we've shown you enough for those that know where Beto's house is. You know we're telling the truth, and people know I don't lie anyway. So look, as the next chairman of the Republican Party in Texas, I'm going to do what I need to do to secure the elections, secure the border, and get George Soros out of Texas. But I'm also going to make sure that we go after issues that we've been silent on for far too long. So Beto and Colin Allred, you better get ready. We're coming to take back Texas, and we're coming to take back those people that you've enslaved for far too long. I'm Weston Martinez, and I approve this message.
So how many of y'all want to have fun going after Democrats?
Hi, Nikki. Yes. Well, these are
That is not me. But if they're a Democrat, we'll go after them too. So, Mason Maru. So, look, for those of y'all who don't know me, I'm Weston Martinez. I'm pro-life, pro-gun, pro-family, pro-Israel. Most importantly, I'm pro-Texas, and I am absolutely pro-Trump. And I'm the biggest Trump supporter running for Texas GOP chair, and I've got Trump's biggest supporter in Texas sitting over the ag commissioner who's got my back and my endorsement to go along with grassroots leaders across the state of Texas. And we'll talk more about some of that, but if we have to secure our elections and secure the borders like I talked about. So the part of the speech that we were talking about tonight is securing the election. So forgive me for weaving it in a little bit for those of y'all that are, being federated. We'll make sure it all works out in the wash, right, Marty? By the way, on behalf of Marty, I did create a new website. Sonia, you should include this in your newsletter when you talk about me. And it's the website is stoplibraryporn.org. So that we can highlight the porn in your school so that somebody else in another school or in another state might be able to go have a catalog to go look from. You see, folks, the liberals know that they're at war. We're too busy being at war with each other. I mean, in some parts of Texas, well, I can't support you because you go to First Baptist and I go to Second Baptist. You go to Holy Trinity and I go to St. Joseph's. Don't get too quiet because then you expose yourself. So, but in that situation, this is where we have the opportunity. So when we talk about the first thing, and that is voter fraud. Now, if I told you that I could stop dead people from voting, and that I could stop illegals from voting, and that I could reduce to almost eliminate mail ballot fraud, how many of y'all would say yes? Yes? All right. Well, guess what? There's a way to do it. And it's been right under our nose. You see, being a voter fraud expert, I've been working to fight voter fraud for a long time. Ever since a Democrat bought me a stack of ballots that all had the same handwriting and all was the address of a cemetery on the south side of San Antonio, Texas. Yeah, and guess what? The person in charge of that cemetery is the main voter fraud person that's also in charge of the Texas Organizing Project. Oh yeah, and by the way, in case you don't know, they actually bail people out of jail to go work for them in their nonprofits. And if you Google top inmates, you'll see that one of them that they just bailed out of jail six months ago killed 3 people. Yeah, and so now, folks, it gets worse. I'll leave it there. But that person, guess what their number 2 person does? They're on the ballot board in Bexar County. Have been for a long time. You see, I worked with Project Veritas to bring them into San Antonio, and we got the lady arrested that made national news, and worked with Ken Paxton's office, and that was the fastest arrest in the history of Texas for voter fraud. I didn't know that until Paxton said it at an event. But we worked with them, we got all the information, I worked with all their investigators, and folks, if we don't secure the elections, we'll never secure the border, okay? Now, I just told you that we can do those things that I mentioned, stop illegals from voting, stop dead people from voting, and y'all all raised your hand and said, I'd be willing to support that. It's gonna disgust you how simple it is. Number 1, the biggest part of doing that is eliminating the voter registration database. Let me tell you why. The voter registration database, that yellow card that you get, the one that somebody can print out and go vote on your behalf with a fake ID, that one, yeah, guess what? Look, I went to college on a bull riding scholarship. I am not a Rhodes Scholar unless you spell it R-O-A-D. Wow, some of y'all get that. But in that situation, 90% of the people that are registered to vote never vote. Never. So what happens? The bad guys rotate votes like a farmer rotates crops. See, I've had an election stolen from me. How did I know? The Democrats called it out, press releases saying people that should have won lost, people that lost should have won. And I knew there were whistleblowers. I actually talked to the police officer that talked to the whistleblowers and said they were too afraid to come forward, for afraid of what the Wolves would do to him in San Antonio, Nelson Wolf and his family. So, if you eliminate the voter registration database, now you're stopping all those things. Why? As the good sheriff will tell you, on that driver's license card, there's a number on there that's connected to the Secretary of State, your registration number that actually tied to your voter registration number. It's the long number that's on there. Okay? So now when you go turn in your DPS approved identification, guess what you're gonna know? You're gonna know if they're dead. Sorry to use as the object lesson mark, but if you pull over somebody that has an ID, does it let you know if they're expired or not? This is not an endorsement, he's just telling the truth. It does. Ta-da! Guess what? If they're a resident alien, it'll let you know they're not a U.S. citizen. You can get an identification card. There's different things you can do with different legal paperwork that allows you to get a document and be able to have the information. So, but what else do we have to do? We have to close the primaries, folks. There's too many Democrats crossing over and voting in our elections. We got to close the primaries. Number 3, we have to eliminate the vote centers. Why do we have to eliminate vote centers? To go to the Three Amigos, which Lori Granados likes to watch at least twice a month. You can go in there and you can do a plethora of things that actually, I finally got to make you laugh. So there's a plethora of things that actually happens in that situation, because you can't challenge an election from a vote center unless you pull every box in that vote center. You have to pull every box in the whole county. You can't just say, hey, give me this precinct that has these 3 precincts in it so that I can go do a hand count. You got to do the whole county. Because what if one of your voters voted way over there on the way home? You won't know. Folks, this ain't rocket science. But there's something else, and as I work through what's happening, and I've been endorsed by a lot of the voter fraud experts, and I've worked with, you name it, Dr. Laura Presley, Catherine Engelbrecht, go down the list. I actually had the first book signing that Dinesh D'Souza ever had in Harris County, 2012. And so in that situation, you wind up learning some things from some people, and I'm thankful to be blessed to have those relationships. So the next place where they're gonna try to steal the election, and nobody's talked about it, but as chair, I'm gonna work to put the rules in there that binds the Electoral College in Texas. Electors are not bound. Nobody's talked about it. You know why? God bless them. This just ain't their cup of tea. If you bind the electors, what do I mean? So you go to vote for President Trump at one of the 42 electoral college votes in Texas. You go to Austin the day they go to repeat. How many of y'all been electors before? Anybody? All right, well, you go to Austin to go over there, turn in the electoral votes. But guess what happens in the meantime? You get hate mail, you get all kinds of death threats. All this kind of stuff is normal garden variety situations because it's now public and every socialist in the world has your address. Well, guess what? If I bind you as an electoral vote, it means that no matter what pressure comes upon you, you cannot flip your vote. You see how election can get stolen right there? So that's a very important detail that people don't want. It's not that they don't want to talk about, it's just that they don't know about it. Look, if Mark and I go to the gun range, I pray to God and I expect fully he will be a better shot than me. Right? He should be. He's living it. Thank God. My idea of gun control is hitting the target. Yours should be too. the right target. And if you don't own a gun, buy one. And so in the election fraud world, those are two things. Gillespie County just did a hand count, folks. When you have a baby, do you want to have a baby? You want to get it done right. We want to get it done right. Okay? We want to have the elections done right. There is a way to have hand counting done with some other things to actually maintain transparency and accountability in the process and not let the machines be connected to the internet. Does anybody here think the machines are not connected to the internet? You do? Okay. Anybody else? It's okay. No problem. So as a candidate or as a public citizen, you can call your election administrator no matter what county you're in, and you can tell them, ma'am or sir, I want to pay for the daily mass. And the daily mass is everybody that voted the day before. So that money-wise, I don't waste money going after people that already voted. All right? Anybody been an election judge here? Anybody election judge during early voting? Okay, door number one. During early voting, how many times did you take the thumb drive out and take it down to the election administrator to go give them the results for the day? Never. Did y'all hear that? Never. So how in the world do I get this big old email that shows everybody who voted and where they voted every single day at 6 o'clock in the morning in 254 counties? It's because it's connected to the internet, y'all. It's like this. There's a little, I don't know what these are for, but there's a little device. It's a little bitty router, all right? Little Wi-Fi hotspot. That's the internet right there. And then it has a wireless device that connects to all the poll books and all the election machines inside of the voting center. You got it? So because, we'll just pretend this is the wireless device. So because that deal's in between, you know what people say? They say that that machine over there is not connected to the internet. What? Well, then how's the rest of this happen? I didn't say it told votes. I said it translates in who voted. And the very key point that you actually teed up perfectly is that there is a transfer connection. There's a connection of data, okay? If I can hack into the side of your house, I can hack into your computer in your house or the TV that's wirelessly connected to your home. You see, Republicans, here's the thing, whenever we start talking about voter fraud in this situation, people mistakenly think that you're impugning somebody's integrity like they cheated or they somehow failed at doing their job. Not what I'm saying at all whatsoever. What I'm saying is that a tool can be misused as a means to conduct political war on us. Okay? The risk limited audit, there's a scanner that does a risk limited audit scan every time you drop one of those ballots into the box. All right? Well, guess what? Anybody have a smartphone in here? How many of y'all ever touched the phone and something else popped up? Maybe you pushed the number 2 and the number 6 happened. Did that ever happen to anybody here? Okay, that's funny. Has anybody had any technological problems with anything in their entire life? Oh, okay, cool. So, you can do something electronically. I can program it so that when I push the number 1 here, even if it doesn't malfunction there, I can make it translate something else, and you're making a copy of that ballot. So, screen number 1, which by the way, the machines that we use, that's the only ones we had for motor voting, for drive-by voting, for people that were handicapped. That's what those things were originally designed for. And so when I touch this screen here, it creates an image. No different than when you get a receipt printed out at the restaurant, right? They type something in, they print something out, there was something in between. If they fat-fingered it, you got a different situation going on. So, you get this, it prints out. And hopefully, it prints out the names that you selected. But when you drop it in the box, it's reading the barcode. It's not reading the names you selected. Now, I can take that barcode and I can have it so that every one vote, I can put 1.2, 1.3, because these are industrial machines. You see, everybody gets emotional about my candidate lost, my candidate won, all this kind of stuff. we just had a bridge collapse, right? Y'all heard about it last night? Okay, it's a terrible situation. I think it's something related to terrorism, but that's just me. I hope I'm wrong. But if we had bridges across the United States collapse today and had 15 of them collapse, what would happen? We'd declare it a disaster, right? An industrial catastrophe. We'd be finding out who made the concrete, who made the steel, who was the person that installed it. We'd do all that stuff, right? Because there's machines in the engineering world that you use to confirm the density of concrete, the density of the steel, to make sure that the PE that graduated from Texas A&M actually did it right, okay? Guess what? There's only 2 certifying companies in the entire United States of America that certify industrial machines. One of them does all the machines I just described to you, including medical devices and including voting machines. They fall under the industrial machine category. Those people, I have the whistleblower information, that company, their employees have machines that they can take to your device and they can program it so that when you put 16 ounces of gold on there, it will show you 16 ounces. But they can program it so that 16 ounces reads 14. Or that 16 ounces reads 19. All right, calibration. If a cop stopped you today and you weren't smart enough to get Bill Harris to represent you in Comal County because of all of his connections through Sonia,
Oh my God.
and that cop had a gun that he was shooting your radar with that was 10 years out and 10 years away from being calibrated, what would you do? Throw the ticket out, right? Those machines that they use for calibration have not been calibrated prior to the 2020 election. So we've got all these machines in a non-emotional status that you can say with 100% scientific proof have not been properly certified. So now I don't have a certified machine. So what I've been trying to do is create a mass action lawsuit so that we can get all the voting machines declared unworthy. Y'all remember the Firestone tire recall that we had? Imagine recreating the same thing. If I make all those tires where they now are a hazard to be on the road, you would have to go back and get all your machines recertified. See the good thing there? Because if we don't fix it, it's going to continue to happen. There's another thing that I did not let these people bring it out prior to the primary, but there is a way to tell actually how you do it. You can get certain parts of the data and you can put it together and you can figure out the timing of the placement of the ballot and put it together so that I can say, oh, this lady came in at this time and here's the vote that dropped in the bucket at that time. Now, I will tell you, my plan is to use that to break away vote centers. Because if I break away vote centers, like I told you, it's one of the solutions to making our elections more safe. Now, how many of y'all thought, when I talked about getting rid of the voter registration database, how many of y'all thought that that's got to be unconstitutional? Come on, at least one person. Perfect. Guess what? It ain't. You want to know how I know? My friend Seth Keschel and I were talking, and I was talking to him about vote patterns and vote harvesting and these cheaters and how they're cheating and how they're actually going to fix this situation. And I asked him, I said, which state has the most secure elections? So I was the only one live broadcasting besides him, so I'm coming here. Which state has the most secure elections?
Florida.
Nope.
No.
But it was one of the Dakotas. Okay? I met Christy Nome, met her daughter, her son-in-law. They're great people. One of the Dakotas, I'm gonna make y'all go look it up. But they actually, one of the differences is that they eliminated their voter registration database almost 10 years ago. Now that's great news, folks. Non-emotional, doesn't matter, my guy, your guy, benefits anybody that's voting, whether you're in the Green Party, the Pink Party, the Rainbow Party, or the Republican Party, right? And now you have a situation where you have integrity in the ballot. Those are some of the key things we have to do. The risk-limited audit, the scanner that I was getting to a second ago, I happened to sit down at a meeting in DC, and the folks from Fulton County, Georgia were there. They've been in the news, right? So we were swapping stories and comparing notes, and they were intrigued by the stuff that was happening in Texas and some of the things that I was telling them, and I was in turn learning some things from them that you wouldn't know unless you're in the middle of the fire, right? And so they told me that we got any other lawyers in the room besides Bill? Okay. Bill will tell you, and y'all will know, that if you have a patent filed and the patent's in effect, the patent cannot be violated, right? Kind of simple law, makes sense? And if it is being violated, then you're misusing the tool in accordance with the patent. Agreed? So, you're gonna love this, ma'am. The risk limited audit scanner that scans all those images of your ballot, guess what? They're using it in violation of the patent. The owner of that patent recently testified publicly that the patent was specific to scanning a hand-marked ballot or Scantron. When I print this sucker off, it's an image. It's a replica. It's printed off. It's all smooth, like scanning glass. Now, folks, I ain't that smart, but I am that hungry to find a solution. And even though I'm a licensed mediator and one of the few non-lawyer arbitrators that exist on the planet, I know how to get a deal done, and I know when I see a 15-point buck that's 286 Boone & Crockett how to pull the trigger. Folks, we need to pull the trigger on this because every one of these machines, regardless of how you feel about voter fraud, and I know you guys have done it for a long time as well, every one of those machines has this scanner. And it is what produces the early vote total and the, quote, statistical predictive analysis that says what your margin of victory is. Well, guess what it takes to get somebody to challenge a race? The margin of victory has to be real narrow, right? So just cheat more. And if you call for a recount, what are you recounting? You're taking the stupid machine and taking the number and running it back through another machine. How are you going to get a different result? It's a binary equation. It's just ones and zeros. The only way you can get an accurate comparison is to do a hand count vote. It's the only way you can do it. But we've got individuals that they are banking on us giving up. And I can tell you what, we are not giving up. We're just getting started. And these are some of the things that I will tell you when we look at doing real election security, these are some of the things that are important. These are some of the things that'll get us in the right ballpark. Because again, if we don't secure the elections, we are never going to secure the border. And some of that stuff that I just told you, don't be mad at yourself because you didn't know. You didn't know. I didn't know. I asked Veritas to create their own program related to voter fraud. They said, no, you're the one that taught us about voter fraud. We just got the undercover guy with the camera. So I created the Voter Fraud Bureau of Investigation. Ironically, when you say it, it sounds like the FBI. I wasn't even trying to be cute. I would have done it, but I wasn't even trying to. So the reason why I spent more time on voter fraud is because it is just that important, okay? And it's gonna take all of us. I don't care who you voted for county chair. I don't care who you voted for in the primary. I care that we work together to have secure elections, fidelity in the process, so that people are excited and come back out to vote. On border security, I'll just tell you one thing real quick and then I'll move into the rest of this and close. How many of y'all would like for me to close?
Yeah, hey.
Sonia, don't be pinching Bill. People in DC, you know what they don't want to do? Solve problems. I talked to a congressman, and you know who he is, so I won't say his name, but he tells me, I asked him, I said, hey, so-and-so just resigned, said that they're leaving Congress so they can go back home because they've been losing money. And this gentleman who's very well off looks at me and he says, Weston, nobody leaves Congress and makes more money. Go pull their stock reports. Go pull their stock reports that they went in with nothing, and then 2 and 3 years later, they're selling 14 million shares in common stock that they received for sitting on boards that they didn't have to disclose. You see, folks, we got big problems out there, and we've got to go in there and fix it. So the border is one of those issues. Now, how many of y'all think that U.S. treaties should be enforced? Agreed? All right, we're in the right room. Guess what? There's a treaty between the U.S. and Mexico that I found out when I was running for land commissioner that requires both sides, the United States and Mexico, to put almost 70,000 acre feet of water into the Rio Grande River every single year. Guess who's 5 years behind on their water payment?
Mexico, probably.
Mexico. George Strait had a good song. Blame it on Mexico if you need a reason. So, now look, simple math. I mean, even Al Gore could get this one right. 7 times 5 is what class?
35.
Add a 0 to it, add another 0 to it, and add another 0 to it. That's how many a football field that high, 70,000 feet, 350,000 feet high, is how much water is owed to the Rio Grande River per U.S. treaty. Nobody swims across the Mississippi, do they?
No.
Not even for the best boudin. But we got congressmen that don't want to solve the problem. Why? They all want to come to the border and take a picture. They all want to have fundraisers with all the people that want to give them the max out check or donate to a super PAC, right?
Right.
And then they leave, and we still have the problem.
Right.
Folks, the dams that are on the river, anytime they release water from the dams and the water goes from their ankle to their knee, nobody crosses. Why is that? Trust me, they can swim. They're smart enough that you build a 20-foot wall, I guarantee you. I got somebody over there to build a 21-foot ladder. Right? But people don't want to solve the problem because they can't fundraise off of it. That's disgusting. And that's why, as chairman of the Republican Party, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go to war with you, for us, for our families. Because if we don't do that, like, where are we moving to? We're not going to go buy an island. All right, that's been tabooed. But we are going to go in here and we are going to take back what's happening. I'll tell you a couple of things. So one, as Republican Party of Texas chairman, God has blessed me to be in the fight for a long period of time. And those of y'all that know me, God bless you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. And y'all know that I'm willing to call out both sides. And somebody said, are you going to be censuring everybody when you're the chairman of the Republican Party? I said, if I need to. I said, but quite honestly, if I have to flex my muscles, then I'm not doing a good job as an organizational leader. I need to be equipping and training you guys to be able to go out there and unleash the biggest and best political machine in the world, and that's the grassroots of the state of Texas. Because if I can release you and unleash you in a way that allows you to go out there and do what things are doing without having to pay $10,000 to a consultant, right? I mean, something as simple as there's one that we use, a friend of mine created, a campaign sidekick. Well, now, guess what? You can't get campaign sidekick unless you get it for $1,000 a month. Is that the cheapest bracket, Lori? $1,000 a month. So you can have a simple little electronic walk list so you can walk around and say, vote for Sue Piner, vote for Donald Trump, vote for Lori Granados. Right? So, why do we do that? We're going to do that. And as state party chair, we're going to provide resources in ways we've never had before. Look, I know the Dunns, I know the Wilkes, all right? I've been out there. All right, guess what? If Tim Dunn dies tomorrow and he doesn't want to give $13 million to Luke Macias and Jonathan Stickland, what money is the Republican Party going to have? The $2.5 million that the party has currently, 2.5 of it at $3 million, 2.5 is actually from Ted Cruz. None of that can be used for anybody but for federal candidates. That means we got $500,000 to run the primary. How many of y'all think that's enough for 28 million people in 254 counties? I don't think so. So how are we going to get more money? Folks, we're going to do things differently. How many of y'all think we should quit fighting like we're fighting the British? I mean, Trump trains, they're unorthodox. I mean, we need to just keep on doing mailers. We lose because we don't spend enough money, the consultants tell us, right? We have to quit fighting like the British. Number one, I'm going to work to get a Republican headquarters for the Republican Party of Texas. We should own our own building. Planned Parenthood owns their own building. We should own ours. I'm already talking to people that have money that would love to have their name on the building. And then we can have excess commercial real estate. And what do you do with that? You lease it out. And then what do you do with the money? You put it in there to run the organization, run the operation. You guys got a great deal on your deal because of the relationship you guys had, because y'all were volunteering over there, and then it just kind of worked out into a good thing. Sue Piner and her volunteers made that happen. Why don't we have one in the Republican Party of Texas for the headquarters? And then if you do that, we can have something like a studio. Why? So that when we have a candidate running for office, they can actually look like they're part of a brand we're proud of. How many of y'all have seen pictures of people and they're running for Republican Party office and you think, oh dear Jesus, they took that picture off their iPhone 3. Or their logo is not like it should be. Or it missed a disclaimer. Imagine if we combined those resources and our knowledge of all of the consultants and said, hey, here's some people that if you're part of the team, here's some of the blessing of being part of the team. And then we do that in different parts of the state. You know, I was talking to somebody and they said, well, why don't we get headquarters in other cities as well? I said, you know what? We got enough Republicans that own real estate. That's not a bad idea. If we can fund it and make sure that it's commercially viable, yeah, let's do it. And now imagine if you, as precinct chairs, imagine if we had money from the mega donors that didn't just go to the consultants. And we said, you know what? Allocate $40 a precinct chair per quarter for them to host a coffee, for them to invite some folks to Chick-fil-A. And then you know what's going to happen? We're going to start a relationship. We're going to start talking to people we hadn't been talking to. And it won't just be the same people inside of every room that we go to. Now, how do we beat George Soros? Anybody want to beat him? Great, you're going to love this. So, we have to unleash the biggest political machine in the world, and that is you. And one of the ways that we do that, I'm calling it the Nehemiah Project. We got to rebuild the wall. We got to rebuild the wall where we're at. We don't have to go to DC to solve problems. We got to solve problems right here at the flagpole. And in that situation, I am going to get involved in every down ballot nonpartisan race across the state of Texas. You know why? It's the breeding ground for the Democrats. And they're left to grow for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 years with nobody touching them. And then they stick their finger in the wind to determine if they vote run as a Republican or Democrat. That is one of the things that's important, because then people like Sheila Jackson Lee will actually have an opponent. Okay, and then the Democrats will spread their money out. They won't be able just to ball it all up on somebody like Beto O'Rourke. And now we will actually have a missionary team that's talking to the people inside of the area so that they can actually start building relationships. The biggest group leaving the Democrat Party is the Latino community and other minorities. Folks, we're going to get more Hispanics into the Republican Party of Texas in the next 6 months than we have in the last 9 years because of President Trump. And with your help, we're going to get that done. As I close, come on up, I'm wrapping it up. As I close, let me tell you the other part, and that is to create an ambassador program. We're going to have Republican Party of Texas ambassadors to municipal races. Imagine if you're the ambassador for transportation in New Braunfels. Imagine if you're the ambassador for senior services in Comal County. Imagine if you're the ambassador for mobility issues inside City of Kirby or in Seguin. Guess what's going to happen? All of those people that only vote in November are going to start having a relationship with us. So, folks, that's why my friend Sid Miller and other conservative Republicans and other leaders across the state of Texas are endorsing me. I got a plan, I got a solution, I got the heart and I got the desire to go get it and go take it down and do like we did right there and go to Beto O'Rourke's front yard and tell him, no, sir, you're not taking it anymore. So, visit my website, westonworksforyou.com. Get involved in a down ballot, nonpartisan race. Help somebody running for a school board, and let's go take back Texas. And God bless you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate your time.